Emma lived in a large old house with her husband William and their 8-year-old son, Noah. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. William was a doctor, always busy, and Emma took care of the house and their son. But Emma had a secret, a well-hidden secret, lurking just above their heads, in the attic. It had all started 10 years earlier when she had fallen in love with another man. He was Liam, a man with dark eyes and a mysterious smile. They had loved each other in secret until the day William began to suspect something. Emma should have stopped everything, but she didn't have the courage. So, a crazy idea came to her. Liam wouldn't leave. He would stay. But no one should see him. One night, while William was sleeping, Emma had secretly let Liam in and guided him up to the attic. Up there, hidden among old furniture and suitcases full of forgotten memories, he had found his refuge. 10 years had passed. 10 years of lies. 10 years of stolen glances, hushed whispers. 10 years of living with a ghost above their heads. And that night, as she was about to join her husband in their bedroom, she heard a noise. A noise that should never have happened. Someone was climbing the attic stairs. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She stopped abruptly in the hallway, listening carefully. Footsteps, slow, heavy. Someone was climbing the attic stairs. Impossible. William was sleeping deeply. So was Noah. And Liam. Liam never left his refuge, not at this hour. Emma felt panic overwhelm her. She cast a nervous glance at the bedroom door. William must not hear. So barefoot, she rushed silently toward the attic stairs. She gripped the railing and climbed in silence, her breath short. At the top, she pushed the attic door open and slipped inside. "Liam?" she whispered. No one answered. The attic was dark. The smell of dust and damp wood stung her nose. Only a faint glow of moonlight filtered through the skylight. Then, suddenly, movement in the shadows. A shiver ran down her spine. Liam was there, standing in a corner, his body tense. But his gaze wasn't on her. He was staring at something behind her. Emma felt her blood turn to ice. Slowly, she turned around and saw a silhouette. Another silhouette. She was not alone in the attic. Emma's heart pounded. The figure was tall, motionless. Then a voice rose in the darkness. "Who's there?" It wasn't Liam. It wasn't William. It was Noah, her 8-year-old son. Emma felt her breath catch. "Noah!" she choked, rushing toward him. He was holding a flashlight in his hands, his face illuminated by the flickering beam. His eyes were wide, confused, afraid. "Mom? Why is there a man in the attic?" he asked, his voice trembling. Emma felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. Noah had discovered Liam. After 10 years of secrecy, everything had just collapsed. Emma felt her legs tremble. Noah, her own son, stood before her, his gaze shifting between her and Liam, the stranger hidden in the attic for 10 years. Liam didn't move, frozen in the shadows, his face tense. Noah blinked several times, the flashlight still pointed at him. "Mom, who is he?" he whispered. The silence was icy. Emma desperately searched for an answer, an explanation, a believable lie. But nothing came. He's a friend, Noah." The child frowned. "Why does he live in the attic?" His tone was innocent, worried. He didn't understand. Liam, meanwhile, kept his fists clenched. He knew that if Noah spoke, everything was over. Emma took a deep breath and placed her hands on her son's shoulders. "Listen to me, Noah. You mustn't tell Dad anything. It's a secret. Do you understand?" Noah shook his head. "But why?" His gaze fell again on Liam, then on the dusty old mattress in a corner of the attic, on the food scraps hidden behind a pile of boxes, on the wrinkled clothes draped over a rickety chair. He understood. He understood that a stranger had been living here, above his head, for years, and what he understood scared him. Emma felt her son stiffen under her hands. "Come on, let's go down." She led him out of the attic, casting one last glance at Liam before closing the door behind her. She absolutely had to make sure Noah kept this secret. Otherwise, everything was over. Noah was silent. Sitting on his bed, he nervously fiddled with a small plastic truck, his gaze distant. Emma sat next to him and tried to smile. "Listen, my love. What you saw is complicated." Noah looked up at her. "Who is that man?" he asked in a small voice. Emma felt her heart race. She had to make something up, fast. "He's an old friend. He needed a place to stay, and I wanted to help him. But Dad must not know, okay? He might get angry." Noah blinked. "Why would he be angry?" Emma felt panic rise within her. She had never imagined having to explain this to her son. "Because Dad wouldn't understand." Noah thought for a moment, chewing on his thumbnail. Then he exhaled slowly and murmured, "Okay, I won't say anything." Emma felt an enormous weight lift from her shoulders, but she didn't yet know that her son was lying. Noah was a child, yes, but he was smart. He wanted to understand. He wanted to know the truth, and for that, he had to watch his own mother. Days passed. Emma thought Noah had forgotten. She thought he wouldn't ask any more questions. She was wrong. Noah was spying. He noticed how his mother sometimes disappeared into the hallway at night, how she quietly climbed the attic stairs with a plate of food. He heard her whisper, laugh softly. One night, he ventured out of bed and approached the attic door, pressing his ear against the wood. He heard something that chilled him, his mother's voice, but not as usual. She was murmuring, gently, lovingly. Then he heard another sound, a man's laugh, his heart clenched. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but he knew his mother was hiding something very serious. So he made a decision. He was going to tell his father the truth. One morning, as William was drinking his coffee in the kitchen, Noah timidly approached. "Dad?" William put down his newspaper and smiled at him. "Yes, son?" Noah hesitated. A small voice in his head told him, "Don't say anything," but it was too late. "Mom, she has a secret." William frowned. "A secret? What kind of secret?" Noah looked around, as if afraid his mother would appear. Then he whispered, "There's someone living in the attic." William raised an eyebrow, amused. "In the attic?" "Noah, no one lives in the attic." "Yes, Dad, I saw him." William set down his cup. His smile disappeared. His son's tone was too serious. "Noah, are you sure about what you're saying?" The child nodded. "Mom told me not to tell you." At that moment, a strange shadow passed over William's face. His gaze slowly shifted to the attic staircase. Then he stood up. "Dad, where are you going?" Noah asked. William didn't answer. He was climbing toward the attic, toward the truth. Emma, in the living room, heard the creak of the steps. She abruptly stood up, her heart pounding. No, he mustn't open that door. She rushed after him, but it was already too late. William's footsteps echoed heavily on the stairs. Emma ran behind him, her heart pounding. She had to stop him. "William, wait!" she cried. But he didn't slow down. Reaching the top, he extended his hand toward the attic door handle. Emma grabbed his arm at the last moment. "Don't do this." Her fingers trembled around her husband's wrist. William stared at her. His gaze was cold, dangerously calm. "Why?" he murmured. Silence. A silence heavier than 1,000 truths. "Let go of me, Emma." She didn't move. If William opened that door, everything would fall apart. Her marriage, her family, her life. She had no choice left. So, she did the only thing she could. She put her hands over her mouth and burst into tears. "I'm sorry." Tears streamed down her cheeks. William hesitated. His gaze softened slightly. "Sorry for what?" he asked slowly. Emma collapsed to her knees, sobbing loudly. She couldn't tell him the truth. So she made up another one. "I'm scared. I'm scared of this place. I've always been afraid of the attic. When I was little, there was a giant spider up there." The words tumbled out chaotically. It was ridiculous. But William hesitated. Noah, watching the scene from the bottom of the stairs, clenched his fists. He knew his mother was lying, and this lie would change everything. On the other side of the door, Liam listened to everything. He had heard the heavy footsteps. He had heard William's icy voice. He knew his nightmare was about to begin. For the last 10 years, he had lived like a ghost, a prisoner in this attic. But today, he had been found. He looked around. There was only one way out, the partition behind him, an old part of the attic filled with beams and broken walls. He grabbed a screwdriver, quickly. He unscrewed a wooden board and crawled inside, just in time, because the attic door had just opened. William stepped into the attic slowly. Emma held her breath behind him. Noah, hidden at the bottom of the stairs, watched everything. The room smelled of dust, but also something else. A strange smell, the scent of a man. William narrowed his eyes. There was an old mattress. Dirty plates, wrinkled clothes. His heart pounded faster. Someone had been living here. "Emma," he murmured. "What is this?" Emma opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She was trapped in her own lie. She searched for an excuse, an escape, but there was none left. William stepped back slowly. He turned his head toward her. His gaze was no longer that of a husband. It was the gaze of a betrayed man. "Do you take me for an idiot?" he whispered. The silence was so heavy it was deafening. Emma stepped back, and suddenly, William grabbed a lamp sitting on a crate and smashed it against the wall. The object shattered into 1,000 pieces. Emma gasped, hands over her mouth. "You think I don't understand?" William shouted. "You think I'm blind?" He turned and tore down the wooden partition, and behind it, the attic was empty. There was no one there. Liam was gone. William slowly approached the hole in the wall, his breath short. His eyes searched the darkness, but nothing. Emma, on the other hand, felt her heart sink. Where was he? He couldn't be far. William slowly turned his head toward her. His eyes were full of rage. "Where is he?" Emma shook her head, panicked. "I don't know," she whispered. "Where is he?" he roared, grabbing her arm. Noah, at the bottom of the stairs, jumped and began to cry. Emma gasped under the pressure of William's grip. But suddenly, a noise. Downstairs, in the kitchen. William let go of Emma and rushed down. There was no doubt anymore. The man from the attic was still in the house. William stormed down the stairs, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his temples. In the kitchen, a chair was overturned. The basement door was slightly ajar. Someone had passed through there. His blood boiled. "You can run, but you can't hide," he growled, his voice echoing through the house. Emma raced down after him, terror in her eyes. "William, stop!" But he wasn't listening anymore. He violently yanked the basement door open and switched on the light. Nothing. Nothing, except an open hatch leading outside. William rushed out, scanning the garden plunged into darkness. And there, he saw a silhouette, a shadow running between the trees. "Damn it," he breathed. Liam, the man who had lived under his roof, the man who had touched his wife. William took off after him. His legs tore through the grass, his breath wild, animalistic. Emma, still standing on the porch, screamed, "Stop! William, please!" But he didn't stop. He was running to kill. William ran at full speed, his breath burning his lungs, his muscles tense with rage. Ahead, Liam stumbled on the damp grass, his silhouette wavering under the moonlight. He had no chance. He had spent 10 years locked in an attic. His body was weak, his legs heavy. But the instinct to survive was stronger than anything. He knew one thing. If he stopped, he would die. William clenched his teeth and pushed himself harder. Faster. He could almost touch Liam. His fingers trembled with adrenaline. He wasn't thinking anymore. Not about Noah. Not about Emma. Not about who he had been before. Just about killing this man. He lunged forward and grabbed Liam's collar. The latter let out a cry and collapsed under the weight of his pursuer. They rolled through the wet grass, fists flying from both sides. William struck first, a punch, then another. He felt flesh under his knuckles, warm blood splattering his skin. "You destroyed my life!" he roared, landing a violent blow to Liam's jaw. Liam coughed, spat blood, tried to push his attacker away, but William was stronger. Much stronger. He tightened his fingers around Liam's throat and squeezed. Hard. "Die!" he hissed, his eyes wild. Liam gasped, his trembling hands clawing at the air. His eyes rolled back. His face turned blue. He had no more air. He felt his end coming. Then, a scream. "Dad!" Noah's voice tore through the night like a blade. William froze. He slowly turned his head. Noah stood there, barefoot in the cold grass, his small face ravaged by fear and tears. He was trembling from head to toe. "Dad, please, stop," he sobbed. William felt an icy chill seep into him. He looked at his own hands. They were red, covered in blood. Beneath him, Liam no longer moved. His lips were slightly parted, his chest barely rising. He was dying. And Noah. Noah had seen everything. William felt his heart shatter. What was he doing? Who was he becoming? His fingers slowly loosened. Liam took a long, ragged breath, a desperate gasp for air. He coughed violently, rolling onto his side, his hand clutching his throat, bruised by William's grip. Noah ran to him and crouched beside him. "Liam, are you okay?" he asked in a small, trembling voice. William sat back, horrified by himself. His son had just chosen his enemy's side. A siren wailed in the distance. The police. William knew he was done for. Emma stood on the porch, crying, her phone in her hand. He had always known. If everything ever fell apart, she would be the first to betray him. He took a step toward Noah, wanting to speak, to explain, but the child stepped back. "Don't come near me," he murmured, his voice broken. That sentence hit William harder than any punch. The red and blue flashing lights illuminated the night. Police cars screeched to a halt. Officers rushed out, weapons raised. "Get on the ground!" one of them shouted. William didn't move. He was looking at his son who was afraid of him. Then, slowly, he raised his hands in the air and knelt. One of the officers roughly handcuffed him. "William Carter, you are under arrest for attempted murder." Emma broke into sobs, and Noah hid his face in his hands. William was taken away. He didn't try to resist. He had already lost everything. The house was silent. Too silent. Emma sat in the kitchen, a cup of tea in her hands, her gaze lost. The morning sun filtered through the curtains. In the living room, Noah, now an adult, sat on the couch, his phone in his hand. 10 years. 10 years without William. 10 years without speaking of the past. 10 years trying to forget. Noah placed his phone on the table and looked at his mother. "Do you regret it?" he asked softly. Emma tightened her grip on her cup. "Every day," she whispered. Noah slowly nodded. A silence settled between them. Then, a creak. A noise in the attic. Emma and Noah froze. Their eyes met, filled with terror. Then, slowly, the noise came again. Someone was walking above them. Emma felt her heart stop. Noah stood up slowly. He looked at his mother. "Tell me it's not true." Emma didn't answer. Then a chilling voice echoed from the attic, a voice they hadn't heard in 10 years. "I'm home." Noah and Emma turned pale. They looked up at the ceiling, where someone was watching them. The man from the attic had returned.